Hi, I'm Geraldine. I go by X Stitches on Instagram, and my pronouns are she, her. This is my channel about cross stitch, and today I'm going to be doing a mid-year WIP parade. So let's get started. All right, so I have my pile of WIPs, and I've listed them in order from oldest, not listed, piled also, from oldest to newest. And before we get started, I just wanted to really quick go through my stats for 2023. So far, since January 1st, I have had 19 cross-stitch finishes. I've started 23 new projects. Let's see. I have 21 WIPs. And I have spent 10 days that I haven't stitched. I keep track of my stitching in my book of days that I had bound from Colorado Cross Stitcher, her shop, and added some note pages in the back where I keep track of WIPs and other things. But my daily tracking is logged here on my calendar pages. So yeah, it's been a pretty good half a year. I can't believe it's July already. Yeah, so I've got 21 WIPs to go through. So if you need to quick pause, go get a drink, bathroom break, and come back, and let's get going. I have no idea how long this is going to take. I'm going to try to be quick. But as I mentioned on my last video, there's some pieces that I need to think about. I'm debating where they go. Do I unkit them? Do I put them in timeout? Those kinds of things. Sorry, I am trying to go find my WIP list again here. I'm gonna really try hard to get through all of this without editing. The last video, I didn't spend any time editing, and it was a lot easier for me to just upload it straight from my phone. It's not as fancy for you all, but it felt a lot easier because so much goes into organizing and filming, and then to all the time on the back end with editing and then uploading and everything. So needless to say, I'm going to try this for now and hope that with it feeling a little less daunting to do all of the things, with the upload being easier, that maybe I'll be able to film more often, and hopefully then that means shorter videos too. So I think my last one was like an hour and a half, which is a little much. Okay, should we get started? Let's do this. Okay, so for those of you, I know WIP videos, or they tend to draw interest, maybe, potentially. So if you're new here, welcome. I thought maybe I should share a little bit about myself before I get started. I have been cross stitching since whenever this WIP is from. November of 2021. It started with diamond painting, and I kind of got down, because it's cross stitch adjacent, right? I kind of got down that rabbit hole, and I wanted a project that was like an advent calendar where I could stitch a little bit every day. And of course, because I was brand new to cross stitching, I didn't realize that like a lot of the advent calendars, you really have to be like the advent boxes, you have to sign up for well in advance. So I found this advent calendar on Etsy that I kind of made my own, went to my local needlework store and kitted it up with the very basic things, kind of not even really having gotten into what cross stitching truly is. So this feels very, I mean, it's a fine project, but it's very basic, like very still what I knew of cross stitch from the 90s, really. And so yeah, since then I've kind of taken off. I very quickly moved from Aida and DMC to over dyed flosses and linens. I am an all-in kind of person, so I am not afraid to jump in and try something. I usually find that when you challenge yourself, you grow very quickly. So I feel like I've grown a lot as a cross stitcher over the last almost 2 years, because I have challenged myself with those harder projects. One of my very first projects after this one on Ada, I went right to linen with a dark fabric. I tried linen with a dark fabric. I went back to Ada for that project. That's a finish. And then one of my very next projects I did on 28 count linen. Learned I had to stitch in the sunlight, and kind of just figured it all out. And now I'm into 40, 46. I love 40 and 46. I've started my first 56 count project. So I love the challenge and trying new things and kind of stretching the boundaries a little bit. So that's me, at least from a cross stitching perspective. I'm a nurse and a mom, so I have other commitments that keep me from being able to stitch as much as I like. I try to stitch almost every evening and then get some time in on the weekends as well. So, all right, without further ado, let's look at this first project. I don't have a picture of this one because it's all on PDF, but it's a cross stitch kind of advent calendar, all with DMC. This was, my first attempt at floss drops that I made myself, and I braided my DMC. Look at how long these flosses are. I've grown so much. And so I was working on this. I did a Barbara Anna advent stitch along that I found that holiday season, and I was working on gnomes. I knit gnomes. You can maybe see just very small, just the bottoms of them up there on that shelf. So every once in a while I knit a gnome. So anyways, I was doing lots of projects that holiday season, and so this fell behind. These squares were a little bit bigger than I thought for the amount of stitching they are. This is, I don't even know that I have the stats. I believe this is 16 or 18 count linen with DMCs. I picked the colors that I wanted. I think if I would go back, this project was originally charted on a gray, and I don't remember if I couldn't find it at my local needle workshop or if I just was scared to use a darker Ada. But this is where I am so far. Those white, I had pre-stitched the border before starting in December with the calendar, and I had pre-stitched then this bottom piece too. So it's cute. I like it. I just don't come back to it. I think because it's not my style, and I don't know where or if I would even hang this up for decorating for Christmas. So I'm not really sure what I would do with it if I unkit it. I do wonder if I could at least I could unstitch some of the lines up here and then maybe make this into a little long pillow for decoration. And then these would be great as ornaments, but there's not a lot of real estate between them. So I'm not sure if I could do anything with them or not, but I have a pretty strong feeling that I'm gonna unkit this. I feel like if I could get it stitched up fairly quickly, maybe I wouldn't. So I'm tempted to kind of maybe finish this rocking horse, this last one that's not complete, and see how I feel. I haven't picked this up in a long time, and so I feel like the speed of stitching might be a little different. I don't know. I enjoy the process of stitching, or I wouldn't stitch, but I do struggle with working on projects that I don't foresee having a use for. So to stitch something and then just stick it in a drawer because it doesn't match my, that's not, I don't know, maybe I can think of someone. I don't know, I just don't love it because my style, my taste, my understanding of what's out there and available has changed dramatically from this. You'll see that in my projects. And so I think it might be just time to do what I can with it and keep it. Maybe that's what I'll do, is if I make the pillow at the bottom and then keep the top as a memory and just call it good. This is my very first, it's not my very first cross stitch. I have a piece that's in timeout that's very, very old. Actually, is it even in timeout? I don't see it over there. I might have gotten rid of it. It's a full coverage, unlicensed image of my alma mater that is not my alma mater anymore. or that's not their mascot anymore. So I think I got rid of that my last WIP parade, maybe. I don't ever plan on working on it again. Full coverage for the most part is not my jam. So they're beautiful, but they're just not really my things, at least right now. So anyways, in the foray of learning to cross stitch, I also like to sew and quilt. So I made myself this bag, and for my very first vinyl front project bag, this turned out pretty well. So I'm gonna put this in the unkit pile and figure out what I can do with it. And well, it's a finish, right? Is it a finish? If I like pull those stitches out and make it into a pillow, it's a finish. So I'm gonna count it as a finish, and I'm gonna unkit it and call that a win. All right. So my next one, something else you should probably know about me is I'm not very patient. So I try to be better. But while I was waiting for the 2022 Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along to start, I fell in love and wanted to start the 2021 Stitch Along that was actually just wrapping up. I started it, why did I start? Oh, I lied. So I started the 2022 Modern Folk Embroidery Sal. I finished it early this year in January, and I should take a picture of it. It's been a while since I put a picture up of it. If you look at my Instagram, you'll be able to see it. I made the frame myself. It was quite the undertaking. It's a huge project. Regardless, so the first month I got caught up on month 1 and 2 of stitching and was like, what else can I stitch on? I want to stitch another. So I was like, I'll do 2 sales at once. Yeah, and then it ended up being a lot more stitching and other things got in the way. I'm horrible. Some of these old stuff I don't have the picture, but you'll recognize it probably when you see, oh, maybe I do. Yep, I do. I love this piece. This is the first piece that I've stitched that my husband's like, oh, I kind of like that, which is interesting. So I really should get this back out and stitch on it more. So that is what that one looks like. I have it on PDF. I love that Jacob has all of his stuff. All of it is beautiful, and I could just go on his website and add all of the things to my cart, but there's just not enough time. And I am stitching it with DMC. I picked 501 and 502, 3750 and 931. So like 2 greens and 2 blues, and I think you'll get a good sense of that when I show you what I have stitched so far. I used the sewing method, and I was stitching in hand before I figured out that hoops and frames are not just for people who poke or stitch two-handed. So anyways, I stitch with, you'll see my projects later have hoops and scroll rods on them, but this is what I have so far. So I really haven't worked on this since probably March of 2022, but I love it. I want to get back to it. So you can see that darker blues, the 2 shades of blue, and then the 2 shades of green there that I'm just kind of making up as I go. So I have the first month done. I should really, I don't know. We'll get into that. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this is because I'm feeling overwhelmed by all of the things that I want to stitch on, because I just want to stitch on everything, but I want them all. Like, I don't want to have a million things. So I get overwhelmed with the choice. And I make a plan, and then that works for a while, and then that doesn't work anymore because it's too restrictive, and I don't know. But that one's, I think, a keeper. That one is on, and just again, before I really got into like the hand dyed, it was just what I could find. I think I bought this online. So it's Ivory Jobelin by Witchelt in 32 count. It's washing out. So nothing fancy there, but it's still beautiful. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? Like, it's to be beautiful. All right, my next WIP is from May 1st of 2022. This was a stitch along with Caroline from Evertote and Off the Grid Needle Arts. This is Birds from Bernard's Books, and this was a fundraiser for, I don't remember, was it the Aneurysm Foundation? Her husband John, who makes their Hearthside Craft lap frame and floor frames, he was raising money to run the New York City Marathon. And so Caroline did this stitch along as a way to raise money, and Jacob, I think, released that chart for the to earn proceeds for that. All right, I have not sorry, my needle is a little discolored and I just want to make sure it's not, no. Okay, probably shouldn't leave my needles in the fabric. So we've jumped a couple months in starts. I got into the world of Evertote and all the beautiful things, and so you'll see the transition to overdyes here. So Birds from Bernard's book is on 46 count, so I've jumped in my confidence a little bit as well. 46 count linen by Roxy Floss Co. in Peanut Brittle. I don't believe that this linen is available anymore, and I'm using Hussy, which is a Roxy Floss Co. like purpley magenta, and that's what I have so far. I struggled a little bit with the negative stitching and kind of knowing where I need to go. I like to stitch where I can look at the chart and kind of have an idea of where I'm going. It's one of the things that I really love about a lot of Jacob's pieces. But I have been stitching the 2023 stitch along from Modern Folk Embroidery. You'll see that in a little bit. And I've kind of learned some tricks for negative stitching, so I need to get this back out. I'm going to say that about all of the pieces. This one I do want to finish. Okay, the next one is from May 2022, and this is an Ink Circles piece, Dog's Declaration. I was stitching on this weekly for a good few months this year. I technically started it, like I said, May 1st, 2022, but I did that over one on 25 count with my own conversion that I didn't love the stitching on 25 count over one because I couldn't use the sewing method. So when you use the sewing method, the way you pull, I found for me, the way that I pull the thread through, you have to be really careful when you're stitching over one, because there's not, the way the threads are shaped, there's not something to keep it from getting like pulled under and hidden between the weave. So you have to poke and stab, and I'm not a poke and stabber by a general rule. So I ended up restarting this the end of November 2022 on a 40 count Bestitch Me fabric called Honey, and I still did a Roxy Floss Co. conversion for it, but I learned a little bit from that first one and I switched it up some. So I really love this piece. I started this in memory of my Yorkie who passed away last May. She absolutely loves squirrels. Since then we have gotten a new Yorkie who is just about a year old. She is more crazy about birds, funnily. It seems, than squirrels maybe, but it's a little early to tell. We don't have a lot of squirrels at our house. So actually we had our first squirrel within the last few months of our dog's life. So she was able to have some squirrels visit her at her house instead of having to go to Grandpa and Grandma's house to see them. But anyways, so I have all of the words in Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Squirrels. And I've just been kind of working on some of the motifs, saving this for when I need a little bit of fill-in. And most recently working over here on this border. I love the colors. I love the linen. I think it's turning out really well. Again, I love this piece, and I could just stitch all the things all the time. It would be wonderful. Yeah. This conversion, I don't think I have written out anywhere. But if it's something that you'd be interested in, message me on Instagram or leave me a comment down below and I can work on getting a conversion to you. Let's see. don't remember the person that I got these, the maker. I got these, if you can see them, they're little acorn floss minders, which are really fun, and I thought were perfect. So here are my floss colors. I have, with this project, I tried the method, which I like, is I have a floss ring in my IKEA cart that has like all of the floss on there, and then I just put a few pieces on the floss drop, so it keeps the floss a little bit nicer, and it's less bulk when you have a lot of floss. So and then it's in my Ever Tote squirrel bag. When I saw these, I had to have it for this project. So, all right. Next is a start from July 16, 2022. And this is Nevermore by Layla's Studio. I fell in love with Caroline's version from Evertote, her version of this chart, the conversion of it. She had been working on it just through her floss tube videos, but hadn't like come out with a formal conversion. So I kind of took what I could glean from those videos and kind of made up the rest. And this is what I came up with. She since has I think restarted her Nevermore and has the conversion. She did have floss packs. I'm sure she would share the conversion if they don't have floss packs anymore, of this piece on the Evertote site in Roxy. If I didn't mention Roxy Floss, most of the things I stitch are in Roxy Floss. All right, and of course I didn't iron. But here is my Nevermore. I'm super close. I think I'm like 70%. So this border in the middle here goes up. Again, there's like the rest of the words, there's a few motifs, and then the border, and then it's done. And I am stitching this on Picture This Plus French linen and 40 count. So I think Caroline's newest conversion didn't have Vampish, which I had to keep in mind, so I love that. This is Vampish, I'm sorry, this is Morticia. This variegated floss is beautiful with that border. So the graveyard, I was not scared, but just like not looking forward to stitching because it seemed like it would be kind of persnickety. But it was actually really fun to stitch. I enjoyed doing that. So this piece is a goal to finish this year. I need to probably get on that, but this would be one that I could pick up and probably work for a week or two and be done. Like I've been trying to stitch 10% a month on it, and it's usually a night or a night and a half of stitching. So it's really not bad. I just need to get back at it. Okay. Not to be confused with Nevermore, my next project is Rejoice Evermore. This is a Brenda Gervais. Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch, she did an Evertote conversion of this chart, and I just loved it. So that is this. I started it in August of 22, and I gotta grab my, sorry, I'm still, you're stitching hopefully while you're watching this, so, or doing other things around the house or whatever you do when you watch Floss Tube. So hopefully you can just keep doing what you're doing and look over when you have something beautiful you want to look at. So again, this is like, I made floss drops because my main floss drops are squirreled away to kind of keep that floss nice, and then I just refill as I need to. There's the flosses. Hopefully you can see that because I can't see you. And then my project is on scroll frames, so it'll just take a second here. And I have like probably a page and a half of that chart done, that bottom corner there. Lots of fill-in on the house. I am typically, I jump around when I stitch. I am not, this project I've been trying to be like more like do a page at a time, but generally I skip around. I don't skip around so much that I have to count a lot, but I'll like work over to something, and then like you saw here, I left the house open so that if I have the opportunity to stitch on this when I'm a little more distracted, I can just do fill-in. This is on 46 count porcelain by Roxy Floss Co. linen. And I really, like, again, I love this piece. I think this is also on my list to finish this year. I am not sure that that's actually going to be successful, because I feel like the end of the year is coming with, I mean, it's already halfway through the year and there's plans for September, and we'll see what happens, but there's a lot to do on that one still. Okay. So the next piece that I have is from September of last year. It's in a bag that I made with Iceland fabric. I took this project with me to Iceland. It was a bucket list trip for me. It was beautiful. I want to go back. And I thought, I'll take this project with me and it'll be great for stitching on when I have some downtime. I started it before we left so that I wasn't like starting. I just wanted to make sure that I had like the start set. And I don't know if I have a picture of it. And I stitched on it. I don't think I do. Oh yeah, I do. So this is from Nicola Cook Needlework on Etsy. And I went to a local actual like needlepoint shop to look for, I didn't realize that, I think it's Gloriana maybe, or one of the overdyed companies makes wool floss. For cross stitching, I didn't realize that. So I went to the needlepoint shop and got wool, which is a little bit of a bear to stitch on, I'm not gonna lie, or to stitch with. And this is on, I don't remember, I think it's 40 count Bestitch Me. 32 count even weave Bestitch Me. It's just color number 270. I don't believe it has a name. And so anyways, I started it so I would have a start. I took it with me and I stitched for like 20 minutes in the airport in Chicago. We took a direct flight from Chicago to Reykjavik, and that's what I have. So I really like this piece. It has a lot of meaning, but like I don't know when or if I'll get back to it. So I think this one's gonna go in timeout. I'm not gonna unkit it, but I don't know. I think I just had a different idea of what our vacation would be like, and it was great, but it was go, go, go. And so I think I even took knitting with me, and I don't know that I even really knit that much. Yeah, we were just out and about and doing things from morning to night. So when we weren't out, we were resting. Okay, my next one is another one that I've been thinking about what I'm going to do with. So I think this is a holiday bag from 2021 from Evertote. And it's really cute. It's got gold stars on the inside. And it is Christmas Garden from the Blackbird Home, I think it's Home for the Holidays book. It was its own chart, and then it was released in the Home for the Holidays book. And so this would be my second stitch out of that book. I finished, I'm looking over at it to try to remember the name now. If I didn't do the words on it, or I would know what it's called, because it's the words that it's on. It's the one with the big red bird with its tail sticking out, and then like all the ivy coming from the branch that it's holding in its mouth. Is it not Peace on Earth? Anyways, let's see. So I had done my own, it's only 4 colors. I had done my own Roxy Floss conversion. These were the colors that I chose. I feel part of the reason why I'm questioning this is because I think I want to do different, I think I want different reds. So I used mulberry for the red and algae, which from Roxy Flasco, and I don't think you can get algae anymore. I think it was either a one of a kind or it's discontinued. But it's just a little bold or deep, I feel like. I do like the gold. I think that's brazen. Yes, and then the brown is chocolate ganache. So I feel like I maybe want to lighten it up. I don't have a huge start on it because other holiday themed projects kind of grabbed my attention more last year, which you'll see. So it's a small enough start that I feel like I could start over maybe. So I know at someday I want to stitch this piece. I think I'm gonna unkit it and put it back in my want to stitch pile and then work on a conversion later. This is also the one where it's like a heritage, it's recommended as a heritage sampler, so there's places to put in, let's see, places to put in initials. So yeah, I don't know. I do tend to like kind of bolder colors, but this is just a little bit, I think a little bit too dark. Like there's not enough, they're all saturated colors. There's not enough variation in like the tone of the saturation of the colors. Is that the right word? Anyways, and it is on Eureka by Fox and Rabbit. It's a 40 count. And it's big, it's 225 by 272, so I've got to really be committed to the colors. And I started that in October, and like I said, got distracted by other holiday stitching after I worked on that a few times. And then for Black Sampler November, I pulled out Modern Folk Embroidery. I Am No Bird. And I think this was a birthday start for me last year. Oopsie. And it's, if you're not familiar, it's themed based on Jane Eyre. It's something she tells Rochester when he's proposing horribly to her at first. She doesn't realize what's happening because he's just, I mean, he's Mr. Rochester. So using Roxy Flasco chalkboard on a 40 count, and I chose Hog Bristle from Fox and Rabbit. I wanted like the really antique-y dark look to go with the black, to like actually like, I wanted it to fit like the tone and the mood of like the gothic novel and Thornfield Hall and all of those kinds of things. So, whoopsie. Again, it's rolled up because I was stitching it in hand. So I kind of got the border done and then moved over the outline of the border done, did enough of the border to kind of get over to that house, so that I'm trying to outline the house so that I have fill in. And then again, I like November hit and I was all out on holiday stitching, and so that's why this didn't get a ton of time. So while I love the idea of Black Sampler November, I don't know. Maybe I'll feel different this year about holiday. We'll see. Because how much Christmas stuff can you really have in your house? But as a new stitcher, you don't have a lot, right? You don't have a lot yet. So maybe that'll change over time. A few people last year were stitching this. I think there was a Sal, and I fell in love with this house. I love blue. And so this is Blackbird's Feast of Friendship. This is just my working copy. And so this was a Thanksgiving start for me, and it was meant to only be worked on for Thanksgiving. That was kind of how I justified the start, because yeah, I was starting a lot at that point, and I knew I wasn't necessarily going to have a ton of time to work on it because I was holiday stitching. So I think I worked on this Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving Eve and Thanksgiving Day, and maybe a little bit that weekend, but not much. This is also on Hog Bristle by Fox and Rabbit, that same 40 count piece. And I did a Roxy Flasco conversion. I believe I have a picture of it on my Instagram, because you're probably not going to be able to see that very well. But if you want that, I could always snap a picture of it and DM you. And this is what I have so far. Again, fill in for the house. So I got all the windows and everything in, so all I need to do is the blue. And that blue, I went to the Roxy, the Evertote open house, the first one they had in November in London, and I had most of the conversion done. And then Hannah helped me with the last few colors. So Caspian is what we picked for the house. And then there were just a couple random colors for the fruit that I think she helped me with. So they're all very pretty colors, and it'll be fun to see that bowl kind of come to life. So I hope I'll work on this for sure, at least on Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving weekend, but through November maybe, we'll see. But this is in a fun like fall themed bag. It's cute little gourds and stuff that I made just special for it. Okay. The next piece I started on December 22nd. I must have finished, I think I was gonna start it on Christmas Eve, and then I think I couldn't wait, and I must have finished, sorry, I'm trying to figure out why this bag is so heavy. I have my stretcher bars in it, that's why. This one, Caroline kitted for me at the Evertote workshop. She's also working on this piece. It's Heartstring Samplery's Hibernation Day. It's this big long like border band sampler, and I love this piece. I don't work on it enough. Here are Caroline's conversion flosses, and it was so great. When I went to the workshop, she was just about ready to have the conversion pack, so she took time with me to help me pick out linen and grab the flosses and figure out over 1 versus over 2 and how much I would need. So it has an extra special memory with that, but I just love this piece, and I'll show you where I'm at. This one is my like 24th and 25th of the month stitching. That hasn't worked out the last few months just because of what's been going on. But I think for Christmas in July, this needs to come back out and get a little bit more attention than it has been. So there's some initials that need to go in down here, but otherwise I'm done up to the houses. And I love that poinsettia border at the top there. So there's quite a bit left of it, but it's because it's narrow, I feel like it goes fast. The words definitely go fast. I have mixed feelings about letters. Sometimes I like them and sometimes they're like, ugh. So it's nice that there's lots of different elements to kind of sprinkled in to kind of mix up what you work on. This is on, so I can find, oop, that's not it, that's the chart. I don't know what I put it on. I believe it's the called for, oh here it is. 40 count Panettone from Roxy Flasco. So beautiful. It's perfect with the colors. So, and I think like this green and red, like this palette actually, now that I think about it, because it's the same colors, are very similar, which it's very close. So chocolate ganache is what I have for the brown and Christmas garden, and then this is caramel instead of brazen, but I think asparagus and merlot are like closer to the greens that I want. So here's my conversion. I think that's closer to what I'm looking for from that piece. So just maybe a different well, the linen's a little bit different, so we'll see about that when I'm ready to restart that. Okay, so that gets us through 2022 and to my January 1st start, which was Reaching Skyward. That is my January, right? Yes. One of 3 January 1st starts, which is the Reaching Skyward Modern Folk Embroidery Sal. I went full bore on this for a while. My goal was to finish by the end of October, and so I had it mapped out to do 10% a month, and then overcommitted myself, of course, and kind of burnt out a little bit on it. But like I said, I finally, I think, figured out how to do this negative stitching a little bit easier. So I picked it back up and I'm in love again. It just, I needed a break. So that is how far I am. I am using, it's 36 count dirty porcelain, I believe. And I'm using Amaretto and Seize the Day Roxy Floss for the blue. And if you're not familiar with the chart, which I would be surprised if you weren't, this is what it looks like. And then there's variations. There's 2 different patterns, and then there's 4 different options for the center. So I've been actually mixing them up, and so mine will not be completely symmetrical. If I like some of them, I've decided to match. Some of them, if I've liked them both, I will do like one on one side and one on the other. So just to kind of add that little bit of fun to it, so they will not be, it will not be completely, I mean, it'll be, the elements will be symmetrical, but the piece itself will not be the same side to side. I even did like the borders, the top and the bottom, and the 2 sides are different borders. Okay. The next one you saw a few days ago if you watched my last floss tube video. I have been working on this. Actually, I haven't touched it since the floss tube video, but it's been sitting there needing to be worked on. This is Turkish Delight by Rosewood Manor. I love this piece. I'm so in love with Carrie's conversion. So Carrie from Who Dyes Roxy Floss created her own conversion for this piece. Sorry, I'm paging through my working copy. With this piece, I have to have working copies, and I like have to fold the gray over because I don't stitch top down. I stitch usually, well, this one I started in the middle, but I like move all around, and so I have to like fold the little gray areas over to make sure I counted right. And I tried putting this into Pattern Keeper and into Markup XP. I didn't love how it was working for that, so my good friends Friction Pens have been really helpful for this piece, because it's a lot of color change and counting, and it's good to have those tools to help me. So this is on 46 count Leo and Roxy porcelain. Why I thought, I mean, it's beautiful, and I am glad I just decided to stitch it on 46 count. It just is the extra challenge when it's already just more color change than what I'm typically drawn to. Let me undo my stretcher bar a little bit here so I can at least scroll through what I have. So here is the center medallion. Oh, I have worked on it since my last video, I remember now. So I got a little bit more done over here with that flower. And then I did what I said I wanted to do, which was work the border here at the, well, it's like an inner border up. And then I got my first letter in. And these teals are beautiful. So I got my N in, and there's like, on the pattern, there's like a little narrow border here, and then there's another letter. And I did the counting, and I am, I think like 4 stitches from where my serger line is. So I think what I did is what I think I found the center of, let me show you on the chart. I found the center of my piece of my linen, and I thought I found the center of the chart, but the center of the chart I don't think is the medallion. Maybe it is. I don't know what happened, but it's tight up there. So I think it'll be fine. It's the floss is what is singing. The linen is beautiful, but it's really just the backdrop for the floss. So I think if I have to, I can sew some linen on to get it stretched, and it'll be okay. But I can't see myself. There's so much stitching here already, even though there's not a ton of stitching, but I mean, it's just so, it's more than it looks like because it's small, and also because it's just a lot of color changes. So I can't bear to restart it. I think it will work. I will make it work. So that is that piece, but I had a moment of panic, and I was like, that end is really close. And like, if I really had to, I love the border between the alphabet, but I could take it off if I had to. We'll see. My pile is down here is getting very precarious. Okay, those all go with that. So I started that Turkish Delight, I started on January 15th this year. My next one is a February start. I don't have the chart for this one. I need to make a copy. I don't like to keep the booklets in my bags because they'll get messed up. So I usually make a working copy, but I didn't want to waste the ink. I actually only made enough of a working copy for my start. I need to take it down to the copier and do the rest. But it's Lucy Barber by Hands Across the Sea. This is the Traditional Stitches exclusive, and I am stitching it in 103 with the called for linen from Traditional. Well, it's not. It was all kitted through Traditional Stitches. So that's my start so far. And I don't remember. It might be in the tag. Might be in here. It's the called for Tabby Cat. Is it Wood Smoke? I think it's Wood Smoke. I don't have the tag in here. With the beautiful Swallow 103s. So it's gorgeous. I want to work more on it. I want to work on it more. But it just hasn't. I have other samplers that I want to concentrate on before this one. So this is kind of where that feeling of too much comes in. Okay. Maximum Cross Stitch, another sampler. This was started as a stitch along. My goal was to finish by sampler September because I have a new start planned in September. I am not going to finish by September. I mean, I could if I like exclusively worked on this piece probably. But I started this March 12th. And I mean, I've got the big house done. So really, what more is there? This border is beautiful, but it's quite a bit of stitching. It's good though. Like once I do a few and remind myself how it goes, it's pretty, like I don't have to look at the chart much. I can just go. So I like do the green and then I do the ochre that outlines the flowers and then I can just fill in. So there's lots of little motifs and stuff on here. I charted. So this is meant to kind of be personalized, and Ellen gives you a lot of tools to do that. So I recharted this a little bit. I haven't talked about it in a while, so I'll kind of quick go over what I did. So I took out this border up here. Let me take this out. So I took out this border up here and moved it up. I took out these cartouches and I moved the house up. And then my plan is to stitch a lemon tree on each side of the house, and probably, I don't know if I'm going to stitch the butterflies or not. This is staying here. So then the house is up, which gives me a little bit more space down here. And then instead of doing the over one people and those chairs at the bottom, that border from the top, I moved down to underneath the house. And then the basket from the other side of the house where the second lemon tree is going, I'm going to double the basket. This is a little bit of the border that Ellen included in the chart that I just extended. It's the one that was kind of underneath the quote. And then I did some hearts, and these are going to be eyelet stitches, and then coffee, and then like instead of putting people or friends, I decided to make their familiars. So there's Roxy for Roxy Floss Co. because I love Carrie's floss. There's a dog, and a cat because many of the floss tubers that I watch have cats and dogs, and then a pair of Kohana scissors. So with the red handles and then the little tassel that comes with them. So, and that kind of represents like my sampler stitcher floss tubers that I watch. So that's kind of where I decided to go with that. And like I said, I was going to do a certain amount each week to be done by September, but I've kind of freed myself from that goal or that rule, and it's all fluid, right? But it is one that I don't want hanging out too long. Let's see. All right. This next one is one of my only like super small pieces. This would be a quick finish. So it would, but then like, I don't know, I struggle because it would bring down my whips, but it wouldn't, like it's a lot, like I would then not have a small, I guess, because it's one of my few smalls. I have this in my Evertote coffee bag that I have all of the patterns that I got from the Tea Time from Trinway Silks thing that came out during market. So this is Ink Circles Tea Berry Tile. And I have quite a bit done, and it's really, I mean, there's not a lot done actually, but it's not very big. Okay, I almost have a quarter of it done. So there it is. I like it. It's one I need to kind of keep it out as like one of my smalls for when I need like smaller stitching. Not smaller, you know what I mean? Not smaller stitching, but like a smaller project to stitch on. I have it on Fiber on a Whim, 36 count cappuccino. I think I bought a frame for a project that I finished, that I bought it before it was finished, and it's a circle frame, so like ordering it was weird, and so I ordered the wrong size, and I think the Tea Berry tile will fit in it. So I think I specifically picked 36 count hoping that it would. Okay, this next one is a Jeanette Douglas that I started when I went to the Jeanette Douglas class in April. I didn't, it was through that, it was through Acorns and Threads, but I attended virtually. And so it came with a beautiful kit, and this is the chart. It says Stitches Sweeten the Soul. And I saw Tasha, I believe is her name. She was at Acorns and Threads, and she was like facilitating the online group, and she finished hers. Couldn't believe it. It was a while ago too. It was maybe last month or the month before, which was very impressive. And it also came, I'm just gonna move it over so you can't see the charts that are back here. It also came with linen and thread to do these two smalls, the scissor fob and the pillow. And I think the finishing for it too. So it's a great kit. It's all in silks, gorgeous colors, mostly Gloriana's, the 12-stranded stuff, whatever that's called. It came like this, all kitted. And then there is a little bit of DMC that was just for the scissor fob finish. And I think there is a few like NPI and other stuff. So, and there are specialty stitches in this piece. So that was what the class was on, satin stitching. And yeah, okay. I thought there was maybe another stitch, but now I can't remember because I didn't do it. And Jeanette actually, she had a really good tip for the border that I'll talk about. So here is my start. That was just really one day of stitching during the retreat. So she started us in the top right corner, and said, as a tip, suggested that we use there's 2 greens in the border. So she recommended 2 needles, and it worked really well for me. So you kind of stitch a color, and then I didn't park it where it thought it would go next because I was afraid I counted wrong. And so I would I would do half of the last X and then park it over out of the way and then stitch down and then park that one the same way. And so it helped with counting because of the way the border is set up. It caught me from making a mistake a few times, especially doing something like that when I was distracted in a Zoom. So we were able to work down to the border, and then really what she wanted us to do was be able to get down to do these acorns. So I sat and stitched a few acorns. This was like enough from like 1 thread of each color, and then I kind of worked on the squirrel and the tree. I can't remember if it was that day or the next day. I think it was the next day. So it was a really fun class. It was, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday. I think mostly Sunday I worked on a different piece. She went through how to finish the smalls and that kind of stuff in the class, and I just had other stuff I was working on at the time. I don't remember what I worked on, but yeah, I think this is really cute, and I love the silk, and so at some point I do want to get back to this, but it wasn't in the plans at the time, but I had to start it. Well, I didn't have to start it, but I wanted to start it along with the class. So I think I think about it sometimes, but I think it will sit for a little while as I work on other things. This next one is a Stacey Nash exclusive through the Homespun Needlework Facebook group, which is dangerous because they have exclusives faster than I can stitch them. So this is the first one from that group that I've actually started. I have the kit for the heartstring samplery one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one with like the pink flowers in a circle and then the 2 birds with a saying in it, and it's like we got like the horn book that her husband made to go with it and all the finishing stuff. And I also have, which sampler was it? There's this big sampler. Oh, Whilst Iris Snaps. That's one that's like burning a hole in my pocket. I really want to start that sampler, but like as you've seen, I have a lot of samplers. So anyways, this was kitted through with acorns and threads, so I have all the finishing stuff as well. And it's Caroline's sampler pouch is what it's called. This house is way bigger than it looks like in the picture, or at least that I appreciated it was in the picture. So that's what the back looks like. I have a piece of paper in the way. Oh, it's my card reminding me that I have the wool finish. So that's what the front of the bag looks like. And I'm going to line it, not line it because it has wool lining that came with the kit, but I'm going to make sure that I use interfacing, some pretty sturdy interfacing, I think, maybe even Bosal, and I'm going to try to do a small box square on the bottom of the bag. So I've done a little bit of modification in the spacing on the chart to do that. But this is the house, all built, ready for fill-in. Got to get the chimneys in there, I just realized. And then this grass down here is like, I'll show you in a second. And then I started kind of where I wanted to do the top of the bag, like this underneath this flap is where I have that work at the edge of my piece. But like, look at this grass. It goes side to side. It's all full coverage, so that's a lot of fill-in. So that I had started working on the grass, and then I was taking this piece on my vacation that I went on, and so I was just working on filling in the house. But my goal was to kind of get the grass colors spaced out right, so that there would just be good fill in there. So this is what this is like my sort of small that I pull out when I want like some easy fill in stitching. That's why it's still on the hoop, because I just want it to be ready to go. The small that I've actually been stitching on, which is not an on-the-go small because of what it is Hilda Weiner. I started her in May as well. I had a ton of starts in May. I think I went to Stitch North and then I got starty, if I can make it into a verb. It's Hilda Weiner, 1908. This is from Hands Across the Sea, from the Letters from Europe box. This is the first of that box that I stitched. I'm stitching it on 100 with 103 in the called for color. And then I didn't have a called for, or I couldn't find the called for fabric. So I chose Dead Sea Scroll from Seraphim, and it's a 56 count. And here it is. And I love it. It's great. So I have not gotten this back out since you saw it a couple days ago on my last floss tube, but it's been sitting there like wanting. So I think I want to keep working on that as like a thread a day as I can. Okay, my next start was a complete fluke. I appreciate the fancy lady movement that, you know, and like the Miras and the Nora Corbetts and all of those. I think they're gorgeous and they're beautiful. They're not really my style. And I think, again, because I'm the opposite of a process stitcher, a product stitcher, if I can't see it on my wall, then I don't want to stitch it. And so it's not for me. And I think they're beautiful. They're just not what I would put in. They haven't found one that I want to put in my home until now. Actually, my plan is not to put it in my home. It's actually to put it in my office at work. And that was when I found out that Mirabilia last December came out with a Nightingale. So inspired by Florence Nightingale. So then I immediately had to kit it up and start it. I am stitching this on an Atomic Ranch fabric. I've worked on it like the day I started, and then maybe like a couple days a little bit after. I struggled with the chart because it's not something you can get into Pattern Keeper or anything. And I finally found a big copier that I could get like a big piece of paper, because it's not the way the chart is. It's hard to even to copy it on, have a working copy is difficult, and I didn't want to ruin the pattern because I was like, if I mess up, then what? So this is on Atomic Ranch Lestrange, 32 count, because I have to, because there's beads, and I have a really baby start, and I'm trying to remember which way. I think this is up. So little tiny start, because of the counting and the full, like, it's not full coverage because the whole piece isn't, but like the dress is all full coverage. It just, and you know, kind of like taking into account the beads, leaving space for the beads and all of that, it's just different stitching. And so I'm still getting some speed on that. So for just a few nights stitching, that's what I have. And I haven't picked it up again since I've kind of started it, because I've been trying to concentrate on other things, and I've been out of the house, and it's not something that you can, or I feel like I can like take with me places for stitching. It's definitely not, for me, it's not a travel piece. So, all right. My last WIP, it's a good one. This is one that I've had my eye on for a while. I reached out to the Attic to have them kit it for me, which they were able to finally do. It just took a little bit of time, which was fine because I knew I wasn't going to start it. I actually was like, maybe it can be my birthday start this year, which is in November. And so last month they called, they had it ready. It wasn't last month, I guess it was in May, because I started it in May. and it came, and I started it the day that I got it. I couldn't wait. And it is a peacock, a unicorn, and a badger. I'm sure you've seen this. Many people have stitched it or are stitching it. It's a huge piece. It's full coverage. I do plan on stitching the green because I love the look of the tapestry look, and I don't want to lose that. It's 320 by 340. So I know a few people have talked about like getting it on green linen and then you don't have to stitch the background. But one, like I said, I love the look of it. And two, it's like really mindless fill-in stitching. And maybe I won't fill that way, but I feel like there's enough motifs in between that if I don't save it for the end, it will be fine. So here is my baby start on it. This is a couple days of stitching. And I am stitching it on 40 count dark cobblestone by Zweigart. It was what they recommended for me at the attic. Just to make sure, they thought a darker fabric would just help with if the coverage wasn't quite what it needed to be on the 40 count with the Auvert Swath silks is what I'm using. So I had originally thought I wanted to do 103, and they were like, there's no way you'd get the coverage that you want when it's full coverage like that. You'd have linen showing through. So we went with that, and that was fine. I think the reason I like 103 because of the management of them. And so we went, it was fine. I had to just card everything up, you know, which takes time and it's fine. But I think there's a lot here. There's like over 20, I think there's like 20 flosses or so. I'm thinking about doing thread paper because I think this is going to be a really long-term project, and I think it will keep the silk nicer and more organized. So, but that, you know, in itself would be an hour or two long project. And do I do that or do I stitch? It's kind of where I'm at with that. So I love this piece. This is one that like I just want to make sure I'm working on, but I'm okay with it taking a really long time because I know it's a big piece, and going into it I knew it was going to take, it was a big time investment, but it's beautiful and I can't wait to have it done and hanging in my house. Probably one that I will, I have never had anything professionally framed. I've framed all my own, so we'll see how I feel by the time I get that done about my own framing, but I could see myself spending the money to get that professionally framed. So yeah, those are all of my WIPs. I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing what I stitch on, what I enjoy stitching on. I hope you got a little stitching or exercise or housework or whatever you did while you were listening to me babble on for an hour and 10 minutes. I've been thinking about doing a kit parade, but I have a lot, and I'm nervous that if I start digging through my kits, I'll start something, and I want to start something, but I don't want to start something because I want to focus on what I have. So I don't know about that. I have to think about it. Yeah, I think part of this feeling of like having too many WIPs and feeling overwhelmed is partly in part because I have so many kits that I want, so many things kitted that I want to start, so many beautiful things. So there's like that Whilst Iris Snaps piece. There's all my Letters from Europe pieces. Martha Evans I have kitted. I know there's more. There's another Hands Across the Sea I think that I have kitted. I have the Katie Strachan blue drum pin keep or whatever that one is. That I got this week that I really want to start. And then there's one more. Oh, and then I have my Plum Street my spring salt boxes. I have one and I want to start the second one. And that was a fun little stitch. It went pretty fast, and it's small and it's portable and all of those things, but it's also, the first one really took my attention and I didn't want to stitch on anything else. So I'm nervous about starting it and it distracting me from something else. So I don't know. I think I just need to be okay with not having things done too. It's really funny that I'm like, I have so much that I want to finish and have on my wall. And like I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, I finished 4 or 5 pieces this weekend, this long weekend, and it was okay. Like, it didn't go great. So it's funny. So it's like, I want to have these things, but I don't know. Like, I'm just in a weird place right now, but whatever I'm working on, and the stitching I love. So I guess that's the important part. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I feel like hopping around too much doesn't feel right, but like over concentrating doesn't feel right. I don't know. Maybe I just need to not just stitch on what I want to stitch on and like not overthink it. So, okay. I hope you had a relaxing weekend for those of you in the States and Canada, a holiday weekend. Thanks for taking the time to stop by and be interested in what I'm stitching on. Thanks for leaving me comments and knowing that you're there and watching. I appreciate it, especially to those of you who comment on every video. It means a lot to me that you're there, and your words of encouragement are really great. I hope you're all well, and I will see you soon. Bye.